Welcome back to Living Local. Today we're here at Bootleg Hill in downtown Davenport. It's a local meadery that's putting a new twist on an ancient drink. Today I am joined by the owner, Rick Harris. Rick, thank you so much for letting us stop by.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
So before there was beer, before there was wine, there was mead. So tell us about this ancient drink.
Well, it's the oldest form of alcohol. It's made with honey and water. It's really simple to make in theory, but it's a little bit more difficult when you actually have to do it. And it's for about 20 to 40,000 years old. It's a lot older than beer and wine. And the Egyptians loved it. The Greeks loved it. Aristotle loved it. The Vikings, if you watch Game of Thrones, everybody's drinking mead. And it was thought to be something for like the elixir of the gods, very something that you didn't drink every day because it was kind of expensive. Honey is still expensive. But it's really a wonderful, wonderful drink, and it's something that I wanted to bring to the Quad Cities because we didn't have a meadery before.
Yeah, so Rick, it has a really unique history. So tell us a little bit about the revival of mead. Because truly, before I came to the meadery here, I had never even heard of mead. I didn't even know what it was. So how have you seen it kind of resurge in popularity?
Well, when we started, I visited the industry in 2013 down in Boulder, Colorado for the Mazer Cup. And at that time, it was pretty small. It was about 200 meaderies. But since then, it's really grown, and I think they're probably pushing maybe 1,000 meaderies now. Not a lot in our area, but there's a lot on the East Coast, West Coast, and they're coming in, and there's actually some starting in Chicagoland and all over. So it's getting a little bit more competitive, where it used to be, you know, you really didn't have anybody selling mead, but now there's a resurgence. We believe mead is right where the beer industry, craft beer industry was back in the 80s. So we think it's really coming along. It's the fastest segment of the alcohol industry. It's growing, and it's really having a resurgence.
That's so exciting, Rick, and as we know, the craft beer world has obviously exploded. That, you know, you said started in the 1980s, and the way that we see that today, it has become a huge attraction to a lot of people, and so I'm hopefully Mead is right behind on the foothills there. So tell us a little bit about the history of Bootleg Hill. What made you want to start a meadery?
Well, for a long time I was a banker for 23 years, and my bank was bought out in 2006. And I decided to do something else. I was tired of wearing a suit every day, so I decided to recruit. And I was recruiting for 7 years on my own, and I had a couple partners too. And it just wasn't satisfying. I didn't want to be on the phone all the time on a computer. I wanted to actually do things with my hands. And I was a home brewer. And during that period of time, I learned about mead, started making mead, and everybody said you should do that professionally. Because I was a much better mead maker than I was a beer maker, a brewer. Brewing is very challenging to do it right, and there's a lot of competition. And I really saw that there wasn't a lot, you know, when no one was doing mead here, and I thought it would be a good thing for us to do. So in 2013, I went out to the Mazer Cup, met the industry, decided to come back and form Bootleg Hill. We did it because my house at the time was, and still is, sitting on a hill in East Moline.
Wow, yeah, you haven't even quite celebrated your 1-year anniversary here in downtown Davenport. And as we all know, downtown Davenport experienced record-breaking flooding, also one of the worst winters in history. So how did that affect Bootleg Hill?
Well, we're doing great until right after New Year's, and then the winter set in. And we had a tough winter, and everything was coming back, everything was going great, and then the flood happened. And when the flood happened, we lost 5 weeks. We were down, had no business. We had to repair everything. We had water in the meadery. I never thought it could flood here up this high because our building's kind of sitting up high, but it did. It almost came through the windows. So when you see 2nd Street being a river and having to get here by boat, it changes your perspective.
As people walk in here, they will notice just the atmosphere is so inviting and welcoming, and you have a big window that kind of shows some of the different equipment that you use to create the mead. So what type of equipment do you need?
Well, what we started with is equipment I had in my basement, which was 12 80-gallon fermentation tanks, which is where you actually make the mead in. And then we bought some large 300-gallon fermentation tanks, which is where we transfer the mead to. So we have 6 of those. Then we have the big tanks, which we're going to start using as soon as our chiller's hooked up. And that's going to be 4 2,500-liter fermentation tanks.
So Rick, what does the process of creating mead look like, and how does it different than brewing beer or making wine?
Okay, well, making wine, you're using grapes usually, and you're taking the skins of the grapes, you're crushing them. Maybe you've seen these pictures where people are walking around in these big wooden vats.
Right, stomping on the grapes.
Stomping on the grapes, right. But we don't do that with honey, because that'd make our feet really sticky.
Yeah, that wouldn't work well.
No, it wouldn't work well. So that's how wine is made. And then beer is, you heat up grains and you create sugar water basically from the grains. You steep the grains, you take that water, that wort off and make it into beer. And I know a lot of people know how to make beer. Mead is a lot different. It's a cold process. It's like wine making, where you're combining water and honey, and then we add medical grade oxygen, and then we put our yeast in, and then we do a step nutrient addition of organic nutrients, because honey's nutrient deficient. And you have to put the nutrients in, otherwise you could stop the fermentation. And we monitor the fermentation to make sure everything's going well, and then in usually 2 to 3 weeks you have mead, which is a lot quicker. My first batch of mead I got on 2 months. Now we've gotten it down to probably about 3 weeks to 4 weeks. So it's getting a lot better.
Yeah, it's interesting to take a look at that process. And what types of mead do you offer here at Bootleg Hill?
Well, right now we have a bunch of different varieties. We have our traditional mead, which is a clover mead. Then we have it infused with organic blueberries and wild Maine blueberries. We have it infused with Door County Montmorency cherries, organic raspberries. We have a session mead, which is an 8.5% alcohol mead, and we did that for people that think our mead is too sweet. So it's made with a beer yeast, and then we have that with hops. Then we also have it with watermelon, our traditional mead with watermelon. In the fall, we'll have traditional mead with pumpkin, and we have an orange blossom mead, which is made from orange. The bees go to the orange fields as opposed to the clover fields, and it comes from California. That's where we like to get our orange blossom honey, and then we take that honey and make mead out of that, and then we add organic oranges, then we can add organic ginger, then we also have some with cranberries. So that's what we're doing right now. We're starting to do some barrel aging, and it's kind of getting exciting.
Wow, you guys certainly have a long list of options here, and I know when I've been here, I've enjoyed some flights with friends, so you can get a little bit of sample of different types. So it really is delicious, and you really do create just an astounding product, and something that is so unique. It's so novel, and I think a lot of people would enjoy experiencing that here, and it's right here in our Quad Cities community. For more information, you can visit the tap room here at 321 East 2nd Street, Suite 200 in downtown Davenport, or you can visit bootleghill.com. More Living Local continues right after this. Stay with us.